Hi, and welcome back to Counterattack from MDF Wales. This has been spurred on a little bit today by a message I got from one of the Bristol lads, actually, Andrew from Bristol, who did absolutely amazing this week on the scales, got his 5% award. And he's asked me all about Slimming World. And he said, what are the foods that I can eat to speed up my weight loss? Even though he's doing really well, he's looking at speeding it up. And while counterattack isn't ever meant to be an attack on anything, we do know at certain times when we're playing football, we can be against it. Things can't be going our way, and we need to work on the breaks. And that's what these videos are all about. I'd like to keep them short because Mr. Miskick, Rob Taylor, tells me off if they're too long. So it's going to be really, really short. A few photos that I'm going to talk you through about why I think there are really good elements to Slimming World, but why I think they overcomplicate things that are already complicated enough. Losing weight is complicated. Okay, so the first photo I'm going to show up on the screen is the triangle. So the triangle is at the bottom, unlimited free foods. So Slimming World say you can have unlimited free foods. Now, if you get a really good consultant, they'll tell you obviously you can't eat unlimited free foods. But free foods are things like lean meat, fat-free dairy, veg, fruit, pasta, rice, potatoes. They say you can eat as much of them as possible. And I think that is trying to simplify something that actually you shouldn't be simplifying at all. You should be measuring those things. You should be making sure everything that comes in is tracked. I think that's a silly way of saying describing any food as free food is a bit dangerous, I think. And then you've got measured healthy extras, things like cheese, bread, cereal, things you should eat, but in moderation. And that's where they get it absolutely right. But what they should say is they should say everything is fine in moderation. Everything is a measured healthy extra. There's no such thing as a bad food. One of the guys in Bristol on Friday said to me, I've been eating too many foods. And I kind of got in the conversation that there aren't many really bad foods. Obviously, there are things like chocolate, there are things like cakes, crisps that are very, very, very calorie dense. If you eat a lot of them, you get a lot of calories. If you eat a little bit of them, you get more calories in other foods, more calories in veg, more calories in fruit. But actually, in moderation, they're fine. We shouldn't victimize foods. And in Slimming World, they also say this about 5 to 15 sins. Foods don't come with sins, they come with calories. If you count your calories, you'll always do well. And by the same token, some things can be very high on sins in Slimming World, but actually be less calories than free foods, such as salmon and things like that. Can be much higher in calories than your sinned foods. So actually, the best thing to do is just to go back to calories. That's not saying foods within the Slimming World program are bad. I've in the freezer now. I really enjoy the Slimming World curries. The Slimming World curries are really good. I just treat them as calorie counted curries. I look on the side, I count the calories on them. I think they're really, really useful for that. This triangle, I don't so much believe in. The next thing I'm going to talk about is speed foods. They talk about speed foods, and this is what Andrew was asking about. He's asking about what can I use to speed things up. So they say speed foods are low sugar, low in calorie, high density, so they fill you up a lot, and they should make up a third of your plate. Now, there's nothing in there that's bad idea. You should have some foods, maybe a third of your plate that's a filling, bulky, veg. Green veg is really good for this, but they don't speed up anything. They're calling that something that's a misnomer. It's misnamed. They're not speed foods. They are just your really good bulking foods. And if we think about it as volume eating, if we're eating a lot of food, we feel fuller. You can eat a lot of broccoli compared to crisps. If you eat the same calories of broccoli and the same calories of crisps, broccoli will fill you up an awful lot more. And that's just what that means. Fill yourself up. Fill yourself up with things that aren't so calorie dense, but actually have a lot of density in terms of their mass. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the Slimming World plate. And this is something they talk about a lot. And there's nothing wrong with this. Nothing wrong at all other than the names. So the first thing is free foods. I've told you there's no foods that are free. We should look at every food as being valuable in our diet, but also measured and monitored. And then they talk about speed foods, like I've just said. Food doesn't speed up your metabolism. Food doesn't speed up your metabolism, but some food is very good, is very nutritious. You can eat a lot of it for a certain number of calories compared to other more calorie-dense foods. And then the third for your plate, pea foods. So pea foods are things they class as low-fat but high protein. So high protein means it fills you up a little bit more. So I think that's a really wise thing to do. Having a third of your, 2/3 of your plate being veg, filling, things like that, and then maybe a third of your plate to be your pasta, your rice, your potato, whatever your filling element is, and then a third of your plate being lean protein, not highly processed. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. So there's lots of really good benefits to Slimming World, but I think they kind of put in this fake science, this pseudoscience, and they try and make it their program. Actually, it's not. It's just, if you do Slimming World really well and you don't listen to you can have unlimited of this, and you use the ideas from it, of the plate, you can do really, really well. What I would say with Man Via Fat is the best thing to do actually is to track your intake. Make sure your intake is measured. Make sure you've got a balance of foods. Make sure you have a balance of whole foods. And you also allow yourself to have treats. So you don't look at those sins as being, oh, I've had really bad days, I've had lots and lots of sins. You haven't. You've just had a treat. You know, you've had a really good week so far, but you've gone to a wedding, so you need that. Because you'd be a really boring person if you didn't. If your kid's birthday, you can't not have cake because it's a sin. You've got to have a real life, because what Man Via Fat tries to do is it doesn't try to put you on a program, on our program. It tries for you to use what you know already to fit in with your life. And that's why it works so well for so many guys. All right, thanks ever so much, guys.